All right, let's see how many participants we have so far. According to the numbers, let's see how many. We have 4 panels. Okay, good. We have quite a bit of people here. Good evening or good afternoon. It's kind of late afternoon. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to get started. You are at the Equity Summit. I wrote up there, if you can see that, promoviendo la equidad. I think sometimes there's not a real way to say something. In this case, I'm just saying that we're really trying to promote equity. And also with tonight's event, we're really trying to look at what teachers are doing in the classroom and what are the experiences that the students are having as well. We're talking about our students who come from Spanish-speaking backgrounds, or at the home is a language that is used. Keep in mind that Latino, Hispanic, Latinx people are quite a variety. You know, there's quite a variety of us. We come from different countries, we come from different cultures, but we share something. We share a language, which is really good. So tonight we're going to talk about equity with the Latino, Hispanic, and Latinx community. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of give you a little overview of what we're going to be doing tonight. So if you can see there, everything, I want to make sure I'm on the right channel. I am on the Spanish channel. Well, can everybody hear me now? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay. Did you hear me before? No? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. So I should back up a little bit for those of you that didn't hear me. So you have a button down there, and it looks like this right here on your screen. I don't know if you could see my screen. Give me a thumbs up with what I'm pointing at. Perfect. Okay. So there's an interpretation button. If one of the panelists are speaking in Spanish, then Erisan will interpret into English and vice versa, right? So when I'm talking in English, as I am now, Erisan will be speaking in Spanish. Okay. Para clarificar para esas personas que están en este canal, si pueden ver la parte inferior de tu pantalla, tienes un botón y ese botón lo puedes oprimir para escucharlo en español. Simultáneamente, cuando yo estoy hablando, una persona de nuestro equipo está hablando, los panelistas, etcétera, puedes escuchar todo en español simultáneamente. Okay, so that little message for our Spanish-speaking members, community members that are present here as audience members. All right, so we're good to go? All right, perfect. Okay, so the plan for tonight. We are going to provide simultaneous interpretation, like I said, from both languages, Spanish to English, English to Spanish. Then Catalina from Puente Nueva has joined us to be able to read our land acknowledgement. So I want to be able to do that, which is going to be great to be able to hear that. And then we have our keynote speaker, Rosamel will be here from HSU. And then very importantly, we have our student panel. It's really good. It's really important to have an opportunity to listen to those students and what they have to say. Well, we have 5 questions for them. We're going to read them the questions. I'm going to read them in both Spanish and English. The students can respond in either language. Interpretation, again, will be provided. And then we'll come to a point where one of my team members will be able to read your questions in the chat room to the students, okay? So if the questions come in Spanish, then they will be read in Spanish, and interpretation will be given as well, or in English, okay? And so those will be available. So that is the overall overview. Then we come to the educator panel. And in the educator panel, we have some members of the community who work with English language learners, so what we like to call emergent multilinguals. These are students that have an opportunity to carry forth their ability to use 2 languages and be able to learn with all 4 domains. That is the listening, the speaking, and hopefully the reading and the writing. That is something that is very important. So we have those students to share that experience. And then we have the educators panel that will be here. And then I put together some resources. I put them on a Padlet for you, so you'll be able to access them at any time. I'll put that link in the chat room when we get to that point, so you can access them. Sound pretty clear? Just give me a thumbs up if you kind of get the concept of what we're going to do. Good, perfect. We'll move along. All right. So I would like to thank all the people that are making this possible. Monica Rivera, who works for Fuente, but also works for us at HCOE. And then we have Meredith Oram from HSU, Stacy Young, who helped put this together, this presentation, and does a lot of background work to get this stuff together. And also we have Erisan Villafana Torres, who is my assistant, former student of mine, and does interpretation and translation. And she is becoming a community liaison, helping the Latino, Hispanic, Latinx community engage more in our system of education. Okay, so, and then we have Dr. Rosamel Benavides-Garb, who will be here to give a keynote. And I also want to thank all the panelists who are joining us, both our educator panelists and especially our students, okay? Our students who are going to share their story. I also wish to thank Libby Ampedudia, I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong, from Two Feathers Services, and Cel Gonzalez from HSU, who are here to support our young panelists. Next, I would like to thank Catalina Leon, who is a language immersion teacher, Spanish immersion teacher over at Fuente Nueva. And she is going to be reading our land acknowledgement. Like I said before, she will read it in Spanish. I will present it in English, and you can listen to the interpretation as that takes place, okay? And then one more time, that reminder that you can press that button if you need interpretation. You hear it in Spanish, you can click it, Erisan will provide that in English, vice versa, okay? All right, so here we go. Here's the land acknowledgement. Catalina, if you would, please go ahead. Thank you.
Reconocimiento de las tierras tribales en las cuales habitamos. Mientras nos reunimos virtualmente esta noche para la serie Cumbre de Equidad 2020-2021, reconocemos que la tierra en la que muchos de nosotros estamos ubicados es probablemente un territorio no cedido de los pueblos Huía. Los nombres de los lugares en el idioma Huía se basan en una relación con la tierra y las vías fluviales de la región que, antes del contacto, se recorrían en canoa. Es posible que esta noche esté haciendo Zoom desde una ubicación cerca de Badua, el río Mad, Wigi, la bahía de Humboldt, o Huía, el río Eel. Además de ser el territorio aborigen de los Huías, esta región del norte de California es también la patria tradicional, ancestral y actual de varias naciones indígenas, incluidos los pueblos Jupa, Karuk, Matol, Tolowa, Wailaki y Yurok. Hoy venimos con respeto a las tribus que han estado aquí durante milenios y modelamos cómo vivir en una relación sostenible con la tierra. Aprovechamos esta oportunidad para considerar qué medidas de acción podemos tomar además de reconocer la tierra.
Awesome. So I'm not sure, give me a thumbs up if you were able to hear the interpretation clearly or if it was a little muddled. Sometimes what happens is on the button itself, you can choose to hear both the speaker and the interpreter. So you'll have to switch the button to make sure you're only listening to the interpreter because it does provide a lot of background noise. So make sure you do that when you're listening to the interpreter. Okay, perfect. Gracias, Catalina. Thank you, Catalina, for doing that. All right, so let's go to, we did this page and next. All right, so on this page, we just want to be able to give you kind of an overview. Thank you for the registered participants coming and joining us today. We really think it's a valuable endeavor, this project we're on, which is equity. It's really good to see you here and to support our Latino, Hispanic, Latinx students and families. I strongly believe that our journey towards success is assured when we come together not to tolerate one another or to simply call out our faults. Instead, it is when we accept and celebrate one another and what we have to contribute. And when we, as Professor Loretta Ross from Smith College states, make an effort to call in community members that might transgress against us, with their words or their actions. Our next step in this equity series is to come together with our Indigenous members in February, and then our African American community members in March, followed by our LGBTQ IA2S+ community members, and that'll be in April, and then in May we'll come together as a summit to kind of review everything. And remember that all of these events are, we're archiving all of the things that we are putting together, the resources that we're putting together for you. So you can visit that webpage as well. Next, we are honored to have Professor Rosamel Benavides-Garb here to give us our keynote. Okay. So I first met Dr. Benavides-Garb when I was interviewed for a position here at HCOE. He was there on the panel to ask me questions in Spanish. Thereafter, after that interview, and after I started to work for Humboldt County Office of Education, he invited me to come into his class where he was teaching translation and interpretation as a guest lecturer. Thereafter, he asked me if I could teach the course. So now I teach the course every year. It's an excellent group of students that we work together with that are becoming members in the community, that are doing the work of providing that connection between community members who are learning English and our English-speaking community members. So it's a vital thing to be able to provide that. In fact, we hired my former student, Eddie San, who's now interpreting for us. Rosamel is currently serving as interim dean and has a long history here in this community, working with our Spanish-speaking community members and our educators, many of them working out there right now, who are teaching in multiple languages. He comes to us originally from Santiago, Chile, where he completed his studies in Romance languages here in the United States, actually. Beyond his work as a professor of the Spanish language and culture, he has labored to establish study abroad programs for our HSU students with the countries of Mexico, Ecuador, España, Senegal, France, and he served as Dean of the Humboldt College of International Studies at the University of Xi'an in China. He continued to mentor students and leaders in our community in his current post at HSU. If you have questions for Rosamel after his keynote, please wait until he joins us at our educator panel, where we will open up after we ask our questions for chat. So you'll enter those questions in the chat room as soon as we get to that member panel and we ask our questions. Okay, so here we go. Rosamel, por favor.
Gracias. ¿Me escuchan bien? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I wonder if we can unshare this screen so I don't look at myself when I'm talking. I don't look at this picture. If that is...
Let me see if I can make you co-anfitrión. Okay, ahora sí, si puedes compartir algo.
No, just to unshare the screen.
Oh, are you able to see, is everyone able to see my screen or this one? Yes? So you want me to pause this sharing?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, that's better. Much better. Muchas gracias, Agustín.
De nada.
Thank you. And thank you to the Humboldt County Office of Education for this invitation. I have written a few notes tonight that I would like to share with you. I would like to read them so I look intelligent and coherent. And I hope that tonight we come together to have a deep conversation and a reflection. I would like to thank also our interpreter, Erisan Villafaña Torres, a graduate from Humboldt State University, for her interpretation services tonight. Muchas gracias, Erisan. Agustin, I appreciate your kind and generous introduction. Yes, I've been in this community for a very long time, and my kids have been members of the school system for a very long time as well. I'm honored to be in the presence of teachers today and administrators who support our teachers and students. I want to thank you all for your presence and participation here tonight. I am aware that after a long day, your presence here tonight is indeed a sacrifice, but also a commitment to your school and students, and ultimately a commitment to yourself. This is your commitment to learning and improving in order to better serve our community. I also want to say a few words in Spanish to acknowledge our colleagues, students, administrators, and families who speak Spanish and share multiple dimensions of their rich culture with us every single day. Solo quiero agradecerles a todos los colegas, administradores y a los estudiantes y sus familias por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Me siento honrado con su presencia. Muchas gracias a todos. The topic for today, uplifting and responding to the Latino, Hispanic, Latinx voices in our school communities. It seems to me that we all know and understand that Latinx students as a distinctive group are having educational success issues from pre-kinder to university level, K-12 to K-16. And it has always been this way, but now it is more noticeable. We all seem to understand that this population of students at large have a difficult economic life, that a number of these students come from working families, immigrant families from Mexico and Central America, and many times from families where the parents have not been able to, for economic reasons, to complete their formal education. Many times, these parents are monolingual with some basic survival English. And it has always been this way, but now it is more noticeable. We know that some students are undocumented too. Some students may come from multi-status families. Some have been separated or have families members who have been detained. But it has always been this way. But now it is more noticeable. Often we perceive these students as lacking some basic academic skills in critical areas like language, reading, writing, and math. And it has always been this way. But now it is more noticeable. So none of this is new to us. And we have historically carried on as if this was part of the educational equation. Some people are successful and others are not. We want no part in this. And we believe that as long as we deliver the school curriculum as we are supposed to do and treat all the students the same, we are fine. Very simple. Some people are successful and others are not. The population of Humboldt County is 138,000 people. We currently have 18,000 students enrolled in our school systems throughout the county. Of the 18,000, 3,392 are Latinx students. This is nearly 19% of our student population. Of this 19%, about 50%, 1,500 of these students are part of what we call the English learning spectrum. Naturally, we expect numbers to increase in our county as in California at large, the Latinx student population is nearly 55%. More than 3 million are Latinx students of the 6 million students we have in California. We are 19%, California is 54%. McKinleyville High School has 511 students total. That's the total population of students in McKinleyville High School. The amount of Latinx students in our county is the equivalent of more than 6 McKinleyville High Schools, or more than 3 full Arcata High Schools. That's the population of Latinx students in our county. I want to bring to your attention the scope and impact of the Latinx student population in our county, and why it is critical that we address some persistent challenges we all face together. According to data of 2018-19, Latinx students are behind the white students in all relevant achievement data. Graduation rate, they are behind 2.4%. Dropout rate, they are behind 2%. And students meeting the admissions requirements for the UC and CSU, Latinx students are behind 16%. So tonight, I want to invite you to reflect with me about this problem, the Latinx problem. To use the same language used to describe the Indian problem in 18th century. We seem to be facing a similar challenge today as we did before, a national challenge. I want to reflect about how we have historically understood the Latin student problem. We have focused our attention on the students as the source of the problem. They are failing because they don't have what it takes to be successful. This understanding promotes the concept of deficit. The students come to us with deficits that cannot be resolved. This deficit model blames the students for their failure of the institution or the educational system. According to the deficit model, the students, and we always have some extraordinary exception that confirm the model, don't have what it takes to be successful. Actually, what the students have is perceived as deeply problematic. The students have limited English skills. The students have uneducated and unsupporting parents. The students don't have American values and traditions. The students and their families are unappreciative of formal education. The parents are not engaged in the education of their kids. The students lack individual drive and ambition. The students are simply not motivated to learn. This list can go on and on. We are familiar with this. We have been in conversations. We hear this. But what would happen if we flip the blaming and own the simple fact that the failure of these students is actually the failure of our educational institution? What would happen if we own this? It is our responsibility as a public institution to create a positive educational experience in our schools to foster success. What personal and institutional changes do we have to do in order to achieve true success with our Latinx population? And for that matter, with our entire diverse student population, our students of color, and yes, including our white students too. A number of schools are exploring the concept of equity to illuminate our predicament. The equity approach can present unique pathways to support the Latinx student community. Equity allows us to humanize our educational process by asking simple questions like, what do we have to do? What do we need to build to facilitate a student's academic success in our schools? This simple question allows us to interrogate dependency, interdependency, and intersectionality of many existing factors, all operating at the same time in the success of our students and institutions. This question also forces us to better understand this unique community of students, their families, and their rich cultures and traditions. Perhaps we would understand the amazing life of bilingual students who successfully operate with not one, but two extremely complex language systems. We may understand that these students bring unique perspectives and understanding to life. If we can only hear them speak from their heart when they feel safe to do so. These students come to us with no deficit, but with gifts. In this reflective spirit, let me propose a few questions here to invite you to reflect, discuss, and expand. Obviously, some items may be converted into actionable projects according to your unique needs and leadership capacity of the members of each institution. So I have prepared a set of questions for you. How does your school, as a physical space, welcome students and families to be part of the school community? How do our students see themselves on the school grounds? Is there visible representation of Latinx leaders, artists, and intellectuals who have made significant contribution to our American culture? How does your school respectfully celebrate and honor Latinx culture during the year? Does your school have an intentional plan to hire qualified Latinx faculty in all fields, staff and administrator, to model success for the Latinx students? Does your school have a bilingual Latinx community outreach professional to intentionally link the school with the Latinx community and particularly integrate parents to the fabric of the school network and support system? Is your school using professional translators and interpreters to translate critical documents and web pages to Spanish and conduct two-way interpretation services at the school meetings where parents are invited to participate? How is your school elevating bilingual education as an opportunity of cultural reaffirmation and engagement for bilingual students? Does your school team teach Spanish for bilingual heritage students so they can master critical skills for professional success and are not painfully misplaced in Spanish as a second language classes? How is your school redesigning back to school night to welcome Latinx families? Is your school developing bilingual tutoring services in all areas to support bilingual students? Is your school redesigning curriculum to include Latinx contribution to all main areas of knowledge so the Latinx students see themselves in the curriculum too? How is your school creating, and this is the title of this summit, how is your school creating uplifting listening opportunities to hear what the students' voices are telling you about their experiences in the school? And how are you responding? These are some of the questions that requires a collective reflection, and I wanted to share them with you because it's in alignment with the spirit of this meeting tonight. The equity approach generates and provides the tools our students need to be successful. Institutional equity creates positive conditions for success. These are collective and progressive processes. Faculty, administrators, staff, students, and families are agents of change and drive these processes informed by their school-specific needs. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Agustin.
Gracias, Rosamel, por eso. Thank you, Rosamel, for that presentation. A lot of things to think about. You know, we are moving, obviously, here at the Humboldt County Office of Education. We're really, you know, focused on this concept of equity. We really think it's an important, valuable thing. But keep pondering all the questions that Rosamel had for you. And once we get to the table discussion with the educators, he will join us. And if you have any questions at that point, we're going to ask him a set of 6 questions. And then at that point, you can ask your questions via chat, okay? And they'll be read. All right. So moving forward, give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen right now. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so a little bit of what's going on here in Humboldt County. Of course, the Humboldt County Office of Education is very involved, very dedicated to this concept of equity, equity for all. As you saw earlier, you saw that roadmap. We were focusing on different community members. And I think that's important, that concept, that we're not talking about isolated communities, they or them. We're talking about all together. We're talking about all of our different members of our community and working together, collaborating. Again, keep in mind that whole concept of, as opposed to call-out culture, we have call-in culture. Really focus on that idea. That's one thing that's really essential. And so this is a training that's going on. It's being put on by my colleague, Meredith Oram, and different members of the community that she has trained to be able to put these together. So I'm going to share in the chat room just so you have that link and you can open it up and you can get to that later. It's a link, it's kind of long, but I think you can get to it. And we will provide it in the resources as well, so don't worry, you can get it later as well. Okay, so let's move on to the next component. The next part, as I said before, is an essential component, is really how can we, what do we know? How can we really have that that perspective, that experiential empathy. I always talk about this idea of, yes, we can be empathic, we can be sympathetic, we can be empathetic, but really when we put ourselves in the shoes of people because we have been there in some way, in some manner, you know, coming to this country at the age of 7, or, you know, for me, it was really difficult to learn English. To this day, I always say I'm an English language learner because you know, I'm always learning something new. And really, if you think about it, we're all English language learners. We're language learners, period. And hopefully you know, your children and you're always pursuing another way or another opportunity to learn a second language. I think that's important. So really, we want to be able to hear from the students. So together with Monica and Meredith and Stacy, we put together a group of students that we called out to the community. We have different students, and I was checking around to make sure they're here, and I see some of them. I see a few of them. Not all of them are here, but I'll introduce them, and I'll talk about, you know, how we're going to do this. We're going to have the students introduce themselves by name. They can use their first name. That would be best if you just use your first name, and then tell us, you know, your age and grade in the school you attend, and one thing that you want the group to know. Okay, when we start talking. We have a set of 5 questions for you, and you have received them beforehand. And I'm going to ask them both in English and Spanish, or, you know, the order doesn't matter, but I'll ask them in both languages, and you can choose, as members of the student panel, you can choose to respond to them or not, and you can respond to them in either language, Spanish or English. Can't throw in another language because I don't know any other languages. The languages that I do know don't work here, so Spanish or English is good. And then, let's see, after that, after the 5 questions, we're going to open it up to the community members to ask questions. Again, it's important for you as members of the student panel to know that if you do not want to answer a question from the community or one of the ones that we put together, that's fine. You can say pass and we can move on. That is important. And then Meredith will monitor, and Monica will monitor the chat room for those questions as they come in at that point after we've asked our 5 questions. Okay. And then please give me a thumbs up, members, if we are ready to go. If you are a panelist, you can you know, push that unmute yourself right now, see if you can do that, and give me a thumbs up if you're successful on that. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Diego, I see Diego, I see Dalia, I see Jose. I see a couple of students there. Okay, perfect, awesome. And so, like I said, we have students all the way from the 5th grade all the way to one of my current students, Jose, grade 16 from university. He's about to graduate. And we're going to ask them the questions. Again, I'll ask the questions in Spanish and English. So here we go. Okay. La primera pregunta. ¿Qué nos puedes contar sobre la mejor experiencia que has tenido en la escuela hasta ahora? What can you tell us about the best experience that you've had in the school so far here in Humboldt County? And you can go ahead and elect to answer the questions. I'll put the names up again. So we'll do the introductions. I'm sorry, we'll do the introductions. Juan, ¿estás aquí? Juan Diego? Okay, Juan Diego's not here. Diego? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Diego Hernandez. I'm 16 years old. I go to Eureka High School, and one thing about me, I guess, is I am a English language learner, and you know, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to, gracias. We'll go to Dalia, and Dalia, I'll introduce you to her. Just recently, I was able to interpret, you know, Rosamel was talking about that interpretation process. It's very important. So I was interpreting at that school, the school she attends, and I heard a wonderful story. I was able to share a wonderful story of her growth with her mom, and it was a fantastic story. So Dalia, if you can, unmute yourself and share a little bit about yourself. Tell us one thing you want to share about yourself.
Hi, my name's Dalia. I'm 11 years old, and I go to Ferndale Elementary School. And one thing about me is that I really like school.
That's exactly what I heard. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Dalia. Yesenia, ¿estás aquí? Are you here, Yesenia? Let's see, I'm looking for her. She has a difficult time unmuting. Okay, well, let's go over to Jose.
Hello. Gracias, Agustín, por la invitación que me hizo a esta reunión. Me siento muy feliz, contento de estar aquí con todos ustedes. Y pues mi nombre es José Uriel Morales Hernández. Soy originario de Oaxaca, México. Y pues algo interesante de mí, pues llegué en Estados Unidos hace 6 años. Moví con mi esposa después de conocerla en un intercambio de español en mi preparatoria. Y pues no tenía intenciones de seguir estudiando, pero anteriormente había estado en una escuela en Oaxaca y sí era muy caro, entonces no lo completé. Entonces cuando llegué aquí vi la posibilidad de seguir mis estudios y sí tomé esa oportunidad. Y pues ahorita estoy a un semestre. Este semestre me graduó de 2 maestrías, no maestrías, licenciaturas en español y estudios internacionales y un minor en francés. Y también les puedo decir que mi primera lengua no es español, sino el zapoteco. Crecí hablándolo hasta los 10 años y a los 11 años empecé a aprender español.
Gracias, Jose. So hopefully you switched on that interpretation channel and you heard a little bit about Jose, but he comes to us from Mexico. He's a university student at HSU, and his first language was not Spanish. His first language was Zapotec, and so he learned Spanish as a second language, and now he's adding on English. And by the way, he speaks English very well as well. All right, so let's go back to the questions. So the questions are here. And again, the first question, we'll go ahead and switch over to your, the interpretation so you can hear it. ¿Qué nos puedes contar sobre la mejor experiencia que has tenido en la escuela hasta ahora? What can you tell us about the best experience you've had in school so far? And we can start, let's see, we'll start again with Diego.
The best experience for me so far in school was getting to meet a lot of new people and a lot of new teachers who really respected me, and they cared for my learning, and I was in a great environment, and I still am. So I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Dalia, you want to share the same question?
This is my first year in a new school, and I really like it. There's a lot of people I've met, new people. And my teacher, Miss Calvi, she worked at my other school that I went to. And I'm really happy.
Yeah, and she worked really hard to get you here, so thank you to her. Thank you, Dalia. And then Jose. Oh, Jose, ¿ya respondiste? No, disculpa, Jose.
No, pero si quiere que lo diga en inglés.
No, como quieras. However you want, English or Spanish. They can switch back and forth.
Okay, I can say that my best experience at school is that I met this professor, CR, who supported me a lot. He was telling me how great it is to have an education, and because it opens a lot of opportunities for jobs or meet new people. And so she helped me to get in the EOP program at CR. So these program provide me with stipend that helped me to buy my textbooks, and also she worked a lot with me because I had 3 classes with her, and she taught me English and helped me a lot with my classes, and I succeed in her classes because thanks for her time, extra time, because even when she doesn't have her office hours, she always told me that I can go and see her with any questions and at any time. So I'm so happy with that, and I wish that more professor can have this. I don't know how to say it, but can support the students to in their process of learning a new language. Yeah.
That's why we're here, Jose. Thank you. Por eso estamos aquí. Muy bien. Okay, so let's go on to our next question. Okay. So the next question. Segunda pregunta. ¿Obtuviste o estás obteniendo lo que necesitas para lograr tu mejor aprendizaje? ¿Y qué más te habría ayudado o te puede ayudar al momento a hacerlo mejor? Did you get or are you getting what you need to do your best learning? And what else would have helped or will help you do better now in school? Okay. Y podemos empezar. We can start again with Diego.
I am getting what I need to have a best learning experience so far. I guess something that would have helped me in the past and could still help me now is really focus on areas I struggled with, which was reading and like using proper pronunciations like grammar, because I used to have trouble with that. But I had some good teachers who really took their time to help me, and it really helped. So that's, yeah, it's going so far.
Thank you, Diego. Okay. Dahlia, the same question.
I think what could have helped me was learning to learning to speak English but also Spanish at the same time, because I know some people forget their Spanish, and I think that's kind of what's happening.
So do you plan on studying Spanish later?
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome, Dahlia. Gracias. A ver, José, la misma pregunta.
Sí, bueno, una cosa que siento que no obtuve es, son clases, que haga más clases de inglés y que el profesor, digamos, porque yo tomé clases de inglés ESL al principio, lo tomé por un semestre, pero no había muchas clases que te ayuden a preparar para entrar en el colegio. Entonces yo tomé esta clase y la profesora que me enseñó inglés, pues todo el tiempo hablaba en inglés y pues no, a veces no podía aprender mucho o me costaba trabajo porque quería que alguien me explicara en español lo que estaba diciendo. Y pues ella no lo podía hacer porque no hablaba mucho el español, pero sí hacía su esfuerzo. Pero de ahí todo bien. Y también en una de mis clases que tomé en el segundo semestre en CIAR es una profesora me dijo que era muy lento todavía y que no debería de estar en su clase. Y pues me sentí muy mal y fue casi quise salirme de la escuela porque dije no estoy preparado para eso y pues no me siento no me siento cómodo estando en una universidad y no saber hablar la lengua. Y me salí de la clase y tomé otra clase. Pero desde ahí siento que he obtenido todo lo que necesito para mi aprendizaje y mucho más cuando me moví a HCOE, porque he tenido todo el apoyo de los profesores desde el primer día que entré en la escuela hasta ahorita.
Perfecto. Y te vamos a ayudar para ser maestro, ¿no? ¿Sí? Muy bien.
Ojalá.
Gracias. Perfecto. Thank you. So I hope you heard what Jose was sharing there in English in the translation. A good message. I mean, there, like with everyone's experiences, there's always something that happens, you know, that isn't so positive. And it's great that he is being able to share that. But right now, all of our students right now are experiencing a good situation. So that's really good to hear. All right, let's move over to our third question. La tercera pregunta. ¿Te sientes valorado? ¿Y qué puedes ser tú mismo en la escuela? O sea, que puedes ser tú mismo, tu persona. Do you feel valued? And can you be yourself at school? Okay, so we'll go to Diego. Cuéntanos.
Okay, I do feel valued and I can be myself at school. I never needed a reason to change who I am. I always surrounded myself with people who always liked me for me and like, you know, knew my background and stuff, but like that didn't change anything. So yeah, that's why I feel valued and why I can be myself at school.
It's great to hear. Thank you. Dalia?
I think I can also do that because I have a lot of people, like my sisters, they're always with me, and my big sister, she helps me always with everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Thank you. Vamos a ver. José?
Sí, por supuesto que me siento valorado y más cuando te invitan en un programa así como este y contar tu experiencia y que otras personas también conozcan de dónde eres, qué experiencias has tenido. Sí me siento valorado. Y también cuando estaba en CIAR y abrieron el centro multicultural en CIAR, eso era excelente y pues no me tocó disfrutarlo mucho porque lo trajeron creo que mi último año en CIAR. Me hubiera gustado que estuviera mucho más antes para poder disfrutarlo más y pues me sentía muy valorado porque podía hablar mi lengua, podía hablar el español, podía compartir lo que soy con otras personas. Y también HCOE, cuando me transferí en HCOE, también iba al centro multicultural a conocer nuevas personas y también me preguntaban acerca de mí. Sí.
Muy bien, José. So yeah, that whole idea of having a multicultural center, it's valuable. That's what Jose is telling us. Thank you, Jose. Gracias. Let's go to our fourth question. ¿Te sientes incluido y apoyado en todas las maneras en la escuela? Por ejemplo, con tu crecimiento social, personal y en cómo te identificas. Do you feel included and supported in all ways at school? For example, with your social and your personal growth, and in how you identify yourself as a person. Empezamos. We'll start again. We'll go with Diego. Diego, tell us.
Okay, I do feel included and supported in all ways at school. At first, it was very difficult to feel supported because in school, you know, I was all by myself. I couldn't rely on my parents to teach me about school because for one, they don't know any English, and for two, they didn't quite make it far to graduate. So at first it was very difficult, but as I grew older, I started to make connections with teachers and friends, and that really got me through, I guess, learning and how to be a better person. And yeah.
Awesome. And when we had our discussion, Diego, you were sharing how your current teacher, who's going to be on our educator panel, is doing a good job to really make learning comfortable. Really.
Yeah, I really want to give thanks to Mr. Olson, because he also had my older brother too as a student, and like me and him just love Mr. Olson as a teacher, because he can relate to things that me and my brother say. So that's very cool, and there should be a lot more teachers like him around schools.
We agree. Thank you. Thank you. Dalia, tell us. Same question.
I think that I do feel included in everything, because I always get included in everything. In my school, we always play like group games, like the whole class plays them, so I do feel included.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. And so, José, compartir cómo sientes acerca de esta pregunta.
Sí, sí me siento incluido. Al principio, como decía el compañero, era muy difícil porque no sabe la lengua, no sabe la cultura, adaptarse a la vida social, a la comida, todo, pero siento que he superado todas esas barreras y me siento más incluido. Y como decía hace rato acerca de los centros multiculturales, ahí es donde empiezas a conocer nuevas personas, haces amistades, y de ahí pues te llevan poco a poco, ¿sí? a integrarte a la sociedad.
Perfecto, muy bien. Gracias por las respuestas. Ahora vamos a la quinta pregunta. Let's go to the fifth question. So, ¿qué recomendaciones les darías a los maestros de estudiantes que están desarrollando el idioma inglés? What recommendations would you give to teachers for English language learners in the process of learning English? Empezamos con Diego. Diego, tell us.
Okay, some recommendations I would give to teachers is to really have a lot of conversations with the students. May sound like a basic answer, but like it really does help, because all the teachers that I made connections with, I always talk to them, and over the years, I can still maybe email them, and they're always gonna be there to help you. Like, for example, I'm getting to know Mr. Olson more, and I know that I can email him. Like, if I have a question, then I could just email him or call him, and I know he'll answer. I have some other teachers in middle school and elementary school who I've built great bonds with just by talking with them in class or at lunch, and that's very like a key source to have.
That relationship building. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diego. Dalia, what are the recommendations?
Some recommendations I would give the teachers would be to help them and have patience, and to just talk to them, like, and ask for if they have any questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, the conversations. Good. Okay. José, misma pregunta.
Yo creo que sería, bueno, una recomendación, que los maestros sean más conscientes. Yo sé que ahorita hay más conciencia de que vivimos en un país riqueza en cultura, en lengua. Entonces, solo sería que sean conscientes cuando tengan un estudiante así que no hable, que que puedan acercarse a él y preguntarle cuáles son sus necesidades, porque a veces como estudiante uno no quiere hablar, y más cuando estás desarrollando el idioma como el inglés, es complicado. Entonces, es complicado decir lo que sientes, lo que piensas, porque no quieres que se rían de ti o que no te comprendan o así. Entonces, solo eso sería mi recomendación.
Perfecto. Yeah, I can still greet people in multiple language thanks to the students that I, would ask them how to, like, for instance, Korean or Cambodian, all these different languages that I learned from my students, at least how to greet people, because I would have these conversations and I wanted to value their culture. Okay, let's go to the next question. La preguntas, or I should say, the questions are now going to come in from you, the audience members. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat. And Meredith, if you're there, can you read the questions that we have?
Good evening, everybody. You can put your questions in English o en español, como sea. Okay, thank you.
I'm looking around, seeing if there are any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any. Y las preguntas lo pueden hacer en español si quieren también. Meredith puede hablar en los dos idiomas.
So there's one question: how can we improve communication with your families? ¿Cómo podemos mejorar la comunicación con sus familias?
Okay. So panel members, students, you heard that question. Does anyone want to answer? So Diego, Dalia, or Jose?
Can you repeat that again, please? I couldn't hear very well.
Sure. The question is, how can we improve communication with your families? ¿Cómo podemos comunicarnos mejor con sus familias? Maybe para los de la primaria, más que como la universidad, por ejemplo, pero.
Yeah, so that's a question that we always have, is how can we really improve that connection? Because what we really want is for our families to be involved in school, to see that there is a chair, there is a seat for them at a table at the school to ask questions and become engaged and try to help support the students. So how can we make that connection stronger? That is the question. How can, for instance, Dalia, how can I make your mom get more involved in school? Or do you feel like she's already pretty involved in school? What do you think, Dalia?
I think that the teachers and the parents could communicate more and talk more.
So using text or having a phone conversation, or like when I attended your parent-teacher conference, I interpreted for your mom, right? So that's helpful, right? Perfect. How about Diego? Do you have any input for the teachers about that question?
Yeah, my mom isn't really too connected with my school. I mean, she'll ask me once in a while like how I'm doing and stuff, and like all I can say is like, oh, it's going good. But I kind of do wish that there was more of a connection, like maybe more like, I guess, meetings or more how can I say this, like more, I don't know, but it would be like nice to have for the teachers and the parents to communicate more, because yeah, it's just better.
Maybe perhaps this medium, Diego, maybe zooming in with the parents. Like if you're a teacher and you want to talk to the parents of your students, then maybe, an interpreter could be present, interpreting the conversation or something like that. But,
Yeah.
the pandemic has offered us this, technology that we're using more and more. Maybe this is a way to connect more with our parents. I'm not sure, but it is important. And me, like you, Diego, my parents weren't involved in my education. They couldn't help me at the time. So I'm so glad to hear you're doing really good in school. So thank you. Thank you for your input.
We have
yes.
quite a few questions in the chat, but
Right.
I want to show our time. We're getting close to 6:10, and I just want to. We have quite a few folks still to share this evening. So thank you, everybody, for your questions.
Do you want to ask the questions, or should we move forward?
It's 6:05.
Okay, let's move forward.
Move forward.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad to be able to. Well, we have invited a huge group of a group of educators. Not huge. We had a bunch, but we narrowed it down. So the first thing I want you to do, if you're a panel member, please give us your name, your position here in Humboldt County in our system, your cultural, ethnic, racial identity, if you wish to share, and then something else you want the group to share. And then we'll go on with the 6 questions. So go ahead, Sarina.
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Sarina Benavides-Garb, and I teach Spanish at McKinleyville High School. And I am white and I'm Jewish. And one thing I would like you to know is that Jose Uriel was someone I met when he was maybe 15, and I took a group of students to Oaxaca, Mexico. And I thought you should know that. Thank you.
Awesome. Good. Okay, Tim?
Wow. I thought you said you were going to vacuum for me. But maybe tomorrow?
Let's make sure we can mute ourselves if we're not talking right now. Thank you.
God, it's like the towels are never ending around here with these kids.
So if we can move over to Tim, if you want to answer give us your introduction. I'm sorry.
Sure. Thank you. Gracias por la invitación, Agustín, y muchísimas gracias a Rosamel por sus palabras tan impactantes como siempre. My name is Tim Olson, and I teach at Eureka High School. And I guess I identify as Western and Northern European, white male, or my friends, Latino friends just call me güero. I guess that's the truth. And I feel like something that I want to share with everybody is that even though I identify as Western European or a white male, that when I was 8 years old, I met a man named Jose Pena, who was my soccer coach. And so it's been a relationship of over 41 years. And when I was 14, he took a team of us to Honduras for 3 weeks. And I was a Spanish 1 student at the time. And it kind of changed my life and made a language which was just a class that I had to take that I didn't really see as important, being a white kid from Arcata. And it really opened my eyes. And with his help, I went back and spent 3 months and we lived with families there for that 3 weeks. And I went back for 3 months, the summer between my junior and senior year, by myself. Jose was there, but I did not live with him, and I played soccer. And then I was also fortunate enough when I was at HSU to go on the Oaxaca program, the second year of its existence. And I made friends and on those trips and connections, and my connection with Jose, who everybody calls JP and Yepi in Honduras, Yepi. And we are still very close, and I consider him like a second father for me and family. And it's that connection that I have and that love that I have for those people and my knowledge and familiarity with their countries and their language and the memories that I have of how well I was treated when I didn't speak the language, and all of that combined that I bring to work with me every day. and that I extend and that I feel for my students, and especially my Latinx or Latino or Latina students. And I just feel like that's important to share with the group.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Leanna, if you're there, brief introduction.
Hi, my name is Liana Holler, and I teach English language development at Walker Elementary School and Ambrosini Elementary School in Fortuna. I identify as a white woman. Something you should know, I have 2 kids that go to a different school where I teach at, and it has been an interesting and challenging year trying to get all their schedules and get their education going this past year. And I appreciate the parents at home and all the work that they do, seeing it from both sides as a teacher and a mom.
Thank you, Leanna. Angela?
Hi, my name is Angela Rivera, and I am a Spanish immersion teacher at Fuente Nueva Charter School for 2nd grade. And my mom and I had this conversation. I guess I identify as biracial, and I've only known that I'm Guatemalan, but I'm white and Latin. And so, and one of the not the panelists, but one of the people that organized this was my mom, and her name is Monica Rivera. And I know a lot of people here on this panel, and I've worked with a lot of you, and you've taught me a lot of things. Like Tim, I remember going into your class. So when Diego was talking about how awesome your class was, I was like, yeah, I remember Tim's class. It was awesome. So, and I got to work with Agustin too, which was a pleasure. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Angela. Rosamel, do you want to say anything before we start the questions?
I think we can start. I think I was introduced already. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so first question. Cuéntanos una de las mejores experiencias que has tenido trabajando con los estudiantes latinos, hispanos, Latinx, Latinx aquí y sus familias. Tell us about one of your best experiences you have had working with the Latino, Hispanic, Latinx students and their families. So we'll start with Sarina.
Okay, well, I picked my best experience, the heritage class that I coordinated at our campus, and we had it for just 2 years, but it was an incredible experience to have a class for native speakers, and the students there really bonded and became a family and really felt seen. And we had wonderful field trips together to HSU, and we had HSU students, like Latinx students, come to our campus, and we took a field trip to the Mission District and saw the MoMA and the, Teotihuacan artwork, and we just really, it was a really wonderful, magical class, and I really think every campus that has enough students should have a heritage class. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarina. Tim.
Amen to that, Serena. I have a hard time with best. People ask me what my favorite this is or favorite that. And I feel like all of my interactions on every day are a highlight. Sadly, we do not have a heritage speakers class. But on the flip side, having native speakers in the class makes the language real, and they get to become the experts and the professionals. And as a Spanish language learner and an English learner, I'm often asking them for help on how to say things. And so I guess some highlights would be, besides the daily interactions with them and the relationships, would be some of the Day of the Dead veladas or potlucks and dances we've had. A couple years ago, we had El Primer Baile Latino, which we called the Bailino, and we had 200 students of all races, and the whole thing was DJ'd by a student, and it was all Spanish music, and it was probably one of the best times we've had in a long time. But those are just a few of the highlights.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. Leanna, same question.
I want to tell you about a program that I've done over the years. It's called the Latino Literacy Project. It's a curriculum that my district bought many years ago, and I used to teach it in the evenings before I had kids. Then my evenings got busy. And then a couple years ago, I asked my district if I could teach it right when school got out, right when the parents were picking the kids up. And my district said yes. We got somebody to watch the kids after school for a little bit. And the program provides bilingual English and Spanish children's books that the parents take home for the week, read with their children, and I give them, you know, comprehension ideas to talk about with their students over the course of the week, come back next week and discuss how it went. And so that's the curriculum and all, but what really happened was I got to hear from the parents, like how meaningful that was to snuggle with their kids, to read a bilingual book at night with their children, to talk about the words in English and Spanish. The kids got to teach their parents a word in English that they didn't know. The parents were teaching their kids a word in Spanish that the kids didn't know. The kids are kind of in between English and Spanish, I feel like right now. Sometimes their English is stronger than their Spanish. And then just looking at the way that children's literature and art and culture and everything can come together like that, that was so powerful. And then what also came out of that class that I taught was some of the parents felt comfortable enough to share with me and to trust me enough to talk about what their own education was like in Mexico. And I had never heard that before. And I just sat and listened, and it was so humbling. And I was so thankful that they trusted me to share those experiences with them. And so getting to that deeper level with parents over the course of, you know, many years working in the school was pretty special for me.
Awesome, Leanna. I saw a lot of people writing down that curriculum. That's good. Thank you. Angela.
Before Fuente Nueva gave me my opportunity to become a teacher, a bilingual teacher, I worked at Eureka City Schools as the bilingual tech. And I was able to work not only with the Latin community, but I was also able to work with the Hmong and Laotian students at a couple K-5 schools. And I can't pick one experience that was good, was amazing. It just was working with the students, and that's what kind of guided me to want to become a Spanish immersion teacher and to be able to work with those families some more, or just to be able to work with the students and show them, you know, the joy of my culture. And so all those students are just, you know, ingrained over the 3 years that I was able to work with them, and not only the students, but also with their families, because I had to work hand in hand with those students and the families.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Rosamel?
Perhaps at a different level, at the university level, my best experience with families and students is when I meet them for the first time and we talk in Spanish. And there is, like, you can see a big wall coming down immediately. And that's all what it takes. And we develop a trust, and I become someone they trust, because their kids, their daughter, their sons and daughters will be taken care of. And that is it's an amazing experience every time.
Thank you, Rosamel. All right, let's go to our next question. So the second question, ¿Tienes lo que necesitas para hacer tu mejor trabajo en tu puesto? ¿Y qué más te ayudaría a hacerlo mejor? Do you have what you need to do your best teaching? And what else will help you do a better job, or do your job better? So we'll start with Sarina.
Do I have what I need to do my best job? Yes and no. We could always use more sections because we have combination classes, and that's really challenging. And we need to meet the needs of our Latinx students, and by putting them, I know it's a joy to have them in our classes, but they don't belong in monolingual classes. And so the class I was telling you about before no longer exists. My students invited the superintendent into the classroom, and they read these passionate letters begging to keep the class. And they said, sorry, we don't have enough sections, and because of the amount of students, but yet I've seen other classes have less students. And so I just think we need more value placed on helping bilingual students really be successful in the community. We need what Rosamel mentioned before about having a liaison in every campus to really advocate for the Spanish-speaking families, and to have more resources for interpreters. I frequently will be called out of class to interpret, and I don't mind that, but it's just not the ideal setting. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Tim, same question?
Yeah, and kind of the same response. I feel like in my classroom, I pretty much have everything I need. My site administration is very supportive, but like Serena said, we went and we observed at Fortuna High, my site principal and I wrote curriculum for a heritage speakers class, and we had students to fill it, and we were going to loop it with an English teacher so we could, get both sides of the coin. And once again, it came down to sections and budget cuts and priorities. And so I would agree on that front. And I also think, like Rosamel and Serena said, a liaison would be like amazing, but our district doesn't even have a full-time interpreter. And so again, like Serena said, I'm often called down to the office if one counselor who speaks Spanish isn't there. And, it's again, like Rosamel said, if there's somebody who is there to speak with these families, it really does break down the wall and makes them feel more comfortable. And we just don't have that. So I think the money's there, but I think it's a priority issue. So I did talk with my site administrator recently, and she asked me what I thought about it because she was meeting with the district admin, and I told her wholeheartedly what I thought. So we will see.
Got it. Thank you, Tim. Leanna?
Yes, I usually get what I need for my program in my district. This is my 19th year in my district, and there's something to be said for longevity, I think, because you have built those relationships over the years. But also my district my district knows about me is that I'm very consistent and firm, and I get what I need for my students in my program, and I know how to ask for it. And so usually over the years, I've been successful advocating for my families and to get what I need for my program. So they know that I'm friendly and I work hard, but I'm firm and consistent. And I think that really, really helps to get what you need for your program.
Awesome. Thank you, Leanna. Angela?
When I was working for Eureka City Schools, this was like 13 years ago, but I really had to, but I was the bilingual tech. So anything that I worked with the students, it was either created or it was, a direct translation of what they were using. So we definitely had to scaffold it and modify it. That was probably where like a big EL, explosion kind of took over, and they started perioding out the schedules and stuff and focusing on their EL students. But here at Fuente Nueva, we're in a different situation because most of my students are English speaking students and they learning Spanish. And so Agustin and any of my fellow people who teach Spanish, it's really hard to find leveled Spanish curriculum for the students. Even if you're a fluent, Spanish speaker, sometimes that direct translation from the English textbook is a struggle to reach. So I beg, steal, and borrow a lot of stuff and create my own. And I have a great collaboration with other schools and my mentor teachers, and our administrator is out there looking for whatever we possibly need and want, and is willing to purchase whatever we need. So.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Rosamel, same question?
Perhaps here I'm thinking institutionally, and what I would like to see happen at HSU is the capacity to teach general education courses in Spanish or bilingually. We need to elevate Spanish as also a high-level language of learning. So this is really important. We also would like to create we have created a Center for Translation and Interpretation, but now we need to work and create a degree at HSU for translation and interpretations. we'll do our job much better with those tools.
Thank you, Rosamel. So let's move over to you guys. Let's ask the audience for some questions, given our time. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Si tienes preguntas, ponlas en el chat o charla. Lo puedes escribir y luego Meredith los va a leer. Okay, so please put them in the chat right now. And we want to get to your questions. So go ahead and ask your questions in the chat and we'll address them. And okay, so I see one question. Do you see that, Meredith?
I do, thank you. Are Google translations on documents going home? Are they working to connect families?
Anyone on the panel want to answer that question?
I hope not, because Google Translate would not be accurate. And even it is really hard to translate documents. This is why it's such a valued skill and should continue to be treated as such, and not just like, oh, you speak Spanish, translate this. It's there. If you are from another country, you don't have the same educational system, and so you can't just simply translate. You have to explain what it is you're wanting to convey. You can't just call it back to school night, for example. Like, what does that mean, coming back to school? Like, you're not literally coming back to school. It's a welcome to our campus. So many things are really different, and I hope that campuses will translate things with a professional and not with Google Translate.
Yeah, that's a key thing. Eddie-san, who's interpreting for me, for us right now, and myself, we get a lot of work. Eureka City Schools let me know someone was retiring, and so they need some extra support. So that is a big need. And remember, I mean, how do we get translation? It means carry your message, port your message from one location to another, and it has to be accurate. Unfortunately, Google does not provide that. We need professionals to do that. Any other questions, Meredith?
No, that's the only one. Just some other language teachers affirming what Maestra Benavides is saying.
Awesome. So then I'll ask one more question before I go over to the resources that I want to share with you. And of course, all of you are able to share your resources on this Padlet that I'm going to share with you. So the next question that I have for you is this one. ¿Qué recomendaciones le darías a otros líderes de las escuelas u otros educadores? What recommendations would you give to other school leaders or other educators? And you can choose to answer this on the panel. So we'll start with anyone who wants to go ahead and interject.
I'll start.
Thank you.
For educators in general, I think it's just a matter of kind of like what Diego said about going out of your way to build a relationship with that student, especially when they're in maybe, I'm not sure of the correct academic term, but when they're feeling uncertain of their language skills and being a little more shy and reserved, to go out of your way to really to try to communicate with them. And I also think just making them feel special and important and loved as they should be, as all students should be, and definitely not. Diego told me a story about how getting pulled out for testing all of the time kind of felt like it put a stigma on him, and that maybe rethinking how that works. But yeah, just making them feel important and special, and that their language is important as English, and their culture is as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, that whole the teacher term, low effective filter. Anyone else want to answer that question?
I will piggyback off Tim. I completely agree about.
I agree with making.
Am I still on? With relationship building and learning about our students, learning where their families are from, incorporating where they're from as part of our curriculum, and ditching your textbooks, because so many of our second language textbooks are based from places our students are not, and words that our students don't use. And so I think it's really validating to have a curriculum that is inclusive and not just Spanish from Spain. So I think ditching the textbook has been one of the biggest ways of connecting more with my classroom and my students and their heritage.
Thank you, Sarina. So that is the time we have. So I want to be able to share with you a little bit of resources. And like I said before, you're welcome to add to these resources, but I'm going to put this bit.ly link, if I can here. Let me exit here for a second real quick. Down here, exit, and okay. Sorry, it just changed my bit.ly link. Accidentally stepped on the wrong click there, but we will put it, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Oh, let's see. Go, copy. And so this is our Padlet that we put together for you. A lot of resources. I'll open it for you. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Padlets, but it has a lot of information, statistics on Latino, Hispanic, Latinx students and community members, different resources that you can use for teaching. I have resources here in Spanish to help families. For instance, this one here. This one is a tech tool that they can use, like if they want to know how to go on Zoom, there's a little tech primer there. So different things that we can use. So please make use of that resource. You can add to it, you can comment. I'll keep it alive. If everyone wants to use it and it's useful, then we'll keep it alive. So there is that. Also, I want to be able to share with you, we do have this evaluation. So if you can do so, please complete this evaluation. Obviously, this is a conversation that needs to continue. All the things that were brought up tonight, the things that we wrote down, the things that the educators shared, and of course, what the students shared, this conversation really needs to continue. All the different things that are important to our community members, to these community members. Gracias por tu tiempo. Yo sé que es importante el tiempo que tienes con tu familia. I know that it's very important that you spend time with your family. Thank you for sharing it with us. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please go ahead and contact one of us, Monica Rivera, who's heading up this program along with Stacy. And my name is Agustin Amaro. If you need to reach out to me, Meredith is there from the university. We are happy to be here, happy to be helpful in any way we can. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a nice evening. Adios.